morning, Yankees fans. Welcome to the Pinstripe Chronicles, where fans become family. I almost said flamly. That's the Yankees. These Yankees 2-game losing streaks. They got me acting weird. But it is Wednesday morning. I'm Rob. I'm here with Donald. As you guys can see, Uncle Tats is in the chat. Not going to be able to make it with us today. He's got some stuff to take care of. Wishing him all the best. We love you, Tats. We'll see you Friday. But just want to say a quick good morning to the two people you see so far, Stevie B, FJ, good morning. Good to see you guys in the chat. Everyone else is going to pop in. We'll say good morning to you when we see you. Yankees have not had a good 2 nights in a row. Back-to-back losses against the Mariners. As some idiots on WFAN would say, we've been punched in the mouth. Donald, how are we feeling about these first 2 games so far?
It was weird. It's been a weird series. I think we should break down the 9th inning. And yesterday was just odd. I couldn't work it out. It was just one of those weird games. I can see people in the chat are now just jumping in. Good morning to everyone. Who else is vibing that music? Yeah. Right. Anyway, no, it's Woo was phenomenal, and this new Italian stallion calzone. Is he a freaking bird? Is he a plane? Is he flying calzone? No, he's calzone. He's freaking fantastic in right field, just flying around, making all these incredible plays. So, like, all I have to do is tip my cat to Seattle, man. They got a hell of a pitching staff. They really do. So what can you do? Like, it was just an odd series. It was the first time this year that I saw Juan Soto look a little bit off at the plate. He just didn't look comfortable in anything that he was seeing. His strategies just weren't working. So Clay Holmes, as Tad's brought up, it was just a weird game, like, from him, because, to be honest, I don't think he pitched all that badly. Although the 4 runs looks kind of ugly, like there was some legit bad luck, but we'll break all that stuff down for all you guys. All I've got to say about this series so far is it's just been a little odd. This has been kind of weird. It's been one of those weird series. Yesterday was a weird game. Clark Schmidt pitched really well, but actually he only gave you 5 innings. It was just one of those things. Offensively, a little bit off. Going with Clayton Andrews, really weird. Aaron Boone heard us giving him a 10 out of 10, and then then he's like, "Oh, you guys wait for this boy. This series is gonna be a doozy." So that's what can I say? But I can't really blame Boone for anything that happened in Game 1, bro. It's just that was just bad luck. And that was just you go with your closer. Closer didn't get the job done. Defense didn't get the job done either. Game 2, I was probably more Boone. That was just not a great day for Boone yesterday. But it is what it is, man. It's going to be it's one of those things in May. It's not a big deal, but weird game.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. And what's up to Joan? What's up to Damien? What's up to NFE? Seeing you guys pop in there. And, of course, Uncle Tats bringing up that comment about Holmes. It was a weird inning, and that's the best way to put it, because it was all soft contact. There was not a single hit that went over 80 miles an hour off the bat.
Yeah,
and
right.
A lot of people are going to look at that Glaber play and be like, he should have kept it. He should have held on to it. Maybe he should have flipped to Volpe. But that's a tough play to make. It was a chopper. He's got to rush it. And even if Rizzo makes the scoop, which he should have been able to make, the guy was safe anyway. Like, if you watch that play, he was going to be safe. Like, they showed a view from behind Torres. He was safe. He was clearly going to be safe. So that play right there kind of had everything else spiral out of control. He walked a couple of guys. Look, the fact that it was May 20th and Clay Holmes had his first bad game of the season, I'm going to sign up for that. I'm not going to, of course, I don't want to see it happen, but if you were to tell me that he'd have almost 2 months of just flawless pitching, I would have been like, no, he would have had a bump in the road here and there. This is his first bump in the road. So I'm not going to be too mad about it. It sucks that we lost, but let's see what Stevie B's saying. I'd give Boone a 1. Okay, blame defense placement on Torres in the 9th. Torres is the worst defensive second baseman, top 4 in errors in the league. He doesn't make things very easy out there. I'll tell you that much. It was weird. It was just that play, because you could have, again, I don't want to put all the blame on him, because the guy was safe. That's a scoop that Rizzo needs to make. most likely you just hold on to the ball and give a chance at a double play the next batter. That's all I would say about that.
Glaber is he's a weird one. What can I say? He's a weird one because here's an odd thing, right? Like he is legitimately not a good defensive second baseman, right? I think we could all largely agree on that. But oddly enough, the thing that he is best at on the Baseball Savant page is his range. His fielding range is actually really good. It's in the 85th percentile. The problem is he's got a terrible arm. It's in the 18th percentile. Like he is in the bottom 18% in the entire league, the entire MLB in arm strength. So he's got a bad arm for second base. And that play sums Gleyber Torres up because he actually did really well reaching for that, gloving it perfectly, fielded it perfectly. That was a tough play. He actually fielded it perfectly. The problem is he's got such a terrible arm that the ball just kind of sunk and made it a very hard play. If he threw that properly, that's an out. It absolutely is. With if that was a DJ LeMahieu, that's an out. If that was a Peraza, that's an out. If that's a birdie, that's an out. That's the thing. So Glaber isn't a good defensive second baseman. There really is no doubt about it. But oddly, he actually has excellent range in second base. It's the one thing in his Baseball Savant page, other than his chase percentage, that's actually good. Everything else is just blues. It's all just blues. So Glaber, that's why Glaber Torres is a weird one. I'll never be able to work him out. But if you go into the more like specifics about it, fielding is actually not bad. Weirdly, if you look at his advanced analytics, he's a +2 in fielding. Offensively, he's a -5. But then you look at it yesterday, and he's the one that hit the 3-run home run and cost us the game defensively in the 9th inning in Game 1. So it's just one of those weird things. That's why Gleyber Torres is a confounding player that I will never quite work out. So there he is. He's on a hot streak, and he's hitting a 3-run home run, but offensively, he's rated as a -5. Fielding-wise, he gave up an error, but actually, he's a +2 fielding-wise. So there you go. Work it out, Gleyber Torres fans, because I can't. I have no answer for him. He's a confounding player.
At this point, you're hoping that DJ comes back and they kind of just DH Torres a little more on the days they're going to sit Stanton, because you're much better defensively with Birdie or DJ out there, obviously, than you are with Torres. Torres has cost us a lot of games. I don't want to put the whole game on him, but had he made that play or just held on to the ball, maybe. I don't know what would have happened the next batter, because we've seen how baseball works. When bad luck happens, something bad usually follows. The next guy could have hit a grand slam for all we know. So it is a game that you just chalk up as bad luck. You're going to have those. Good teams lose 60 games or more every year. Really good teams lose maybe a little bit less than that. Out of those 60 or 65 losses, maybe half of them are going to be ugly games. And we've seen a couple of those ugly games already. The shutouts, the 1-2 nights ago, last night was kind of ugly. It was weird. I don't think this means the Yankees are a fraud, as some idiots would say. I don't think this means the Yankees are about to, I hope it's not a start of a bad losing streak, because I've seen this happen to them before. I mentioned that to you. I'd hope it's not one of those downward spiral things. We expect a chance to split the series, which is great. I hope they can do that. But it is May 22nd. We finally had a series start off pretty poorly, and they still have a chance to make it right and break even. I think we would sign up for that. If someone were to tell you the Yankees are going to split with Seattle, we'd be like, all right, that's fine. But the fact that our loss to Seattle in Game 1 was almost fluky, like we were just one good play away from winning that game, and this is 1-1. We're not talking about anything weird. We're not talking about Gleyber Torres' defense. We're not talking about a Clay Holmes blunder. We're talking about a 1-1 set. So the offense in that game, the double plays reared its ugly head again. They left a small village on the base paths. They were running themselves out of innings. It was weird. It was a 2023 Yankee game that they almost won, and they lost like a 2023 Yankee game. How many times did we see that last year where they'd run themselves out of innings and then eventually cost themselves too late in the game where they blow it? So chalk it up as a bad game. Yesterday was a bad game. Rebound today, because now if you start a losing streak, it could spiral out of control. I don't think it will, but it could. I think they have to go out and try to win these next 2 games. I think it's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
important that they do.
facts. But it's a marathon. There's
Yeah.
going to be bad series. The A's was a bad series, right? It happens, right? It doesn't actually. I don't think we need to. It's really important not to like put a microscope to every series as if it's like a huge thing. Like I don't think yesterday is going to impact us much beyond the next couple days. I do think it ran over into yesterday though. I think had we won in game one, I think we would have played much better than we did yesterday. So I do think it did have a slight runoff, but I think it'll be forgotten about in the long term and in the short term even. I don't think it'll take too long until the blown save will be kind of forgotten about. But it hasn't been a well played series, as you say. We left an entire 42nd Street subway commute uh, on the base pass. It was wild, and we ran ourselves out of a couple of innings too, um, and a lot of double plays. We blew. I mean, I think at minimum we blew about 4 to 6 runs in game one. 4 to 6 runs should have been scored, and more than we did, and that's why we lost. Really, that's really why. If you're really looking at it, Clay Holmes blew it, yeah, but I think really the Yankees blew it. The Yankees did not have a good game, really. The one guy that really showed up was Verdugo and Marcus Stroman. Those two were phenomenal. It was Verdugo 3, Seattle nothing for much of the game. We took Stroman out. You could critique that maybe you could have given Stroman all 8 innings. I probably would have. But I think the Yankees blew that game. The rest of the team blew it. They didn't play well. That's it. Terrible fielding. I also think that Aaron Judge probably could have reached that ball in the ninth inning. I think it dropped right in front of him. I really think that a center fielder, a little bit fleeter of foot than Aaron Judge, makes that play. It's not a critique on Aaron Judge. Don't come at me. It's not a criticism on Judge. I think Judge is doing fine in center fielder, but he's an elite right fielder. He's an above average center fielder. I think maybe just a guy that doesn't have a toe injury and abdominal problems in spring training, who's maybe a little younger, makes that play in center field. But overall, he's done fine in center, but I think he should have went all out and made that catch. He didn't. It dropped in front of him. That was a big part of it. So it's not all Gleyber Torres' fault. It's not all Clay Holmes' fault. Everyone kind of contributed to a bad game, apart from Verdugo, who played great. So shout out to the Dugo dog. And Marcus Stroman was phenomenal. Very excited about him, man. Do you think maybe Boone could have given him all 8 innings?
I don't remember what his pitch count was at. I know he gave up the run, and I'm not sure. I think he gave up another base runner.
Yeah,
Then Weaver had to come in, right? Weaver had to
Yeah.
come in and
Yeah.
clean it up. I think it was the right decision because his stuff was starting to tail off a little bit. I'm not going to blame Boone for taking him out. The fact that he pitched into the eighth, I think, is great.
Amazing.
I'm glad that he let him go out there for the eighth. I thought he was going to pull him after 7.
Yeah.
So I don't want to. I'm not going to put that on Boone. I think it was the right time to pull him. He realized that could have gotten out of control. What I do think is he should have pulled Holmes in the ninth inning sooner than he did, but that's another conversation. But I don't think he made a mistake with Stroman. I think it was the right time to do it.
So yeah, there you go.
Pitches,
Your dad says 102 pitches. That's
so
fair enough.
it was the perfect time to pull him. He was over 100 pitches. He gave up a run. Base runner gets on. I think that was the perfect time to do it because Weaver has been so good in those spots. That's when you bring him in.
Yeah, he's been great. He's the steal of the offseason. You managed to get such an incredible relief on for just $2 million. It's absolute steal. No one gives Cashman credit these days. But I'll tell you what, man, he had a really good offseason. He's given us Juan Soto, which is a dream come true, and Marcus Stroman's balled. Much better than anyone would have anticipated. He's been fantastic. He's like fit for pinstripes. And Verdugo's been an absolute steal, and he's been phenomenal in left field and great offensively. Now our cleanup hitter, no one had that as happening. That's how good he's been. Um, his decision to because obviously the front office is involved in all these things. I think his decision to maybe push Volpe up to the leadoff spot has worked out. Volpe's on a big hitting streak. Obviously, he's working with Aaron Boone on that regard, but that was another decision. In fact, trusting Aaron Boone this year has been the right decision. How about the fact that they have the same lineup every single day? Now, obviously, that's Aaron Boone that we credit him for, but also Cashman, because, as I say, it's a collaborative effort. And then of course Cashman's move to bring in Weaver has been an absolute steal. So he deserves a ton of credit, man. You cannot fault what Brian Cashman's done this offseason. He had an A+ offseason, in my opinion. There's for me, I don't think there's much doubt about it. He deserves more credit than he gets.
Oh, for sure. Every move, with the exception of maybe Ferguson, has really paid off. But
that's true.
Hopefully Ferguson can turn around, because I know he's a better pitcher than that. But
yeah, that's the thing, though. I can't blame him for that deal, because the deal was actually
we got him for nothing. Yeah, we gave him up Matt Gage. Yeah,
right.
Who's Matt Gage?
If you look at his numbers, that looked like a steal. Unfortunately, he's pitched like shit. So I think that's more on him than Cashman making the deal.
Right. And FJ brings up a really good point: is why wasn't Weaver brought in when the Yankees were down 4-3? He only threw 6 pitches the night before.
That's a better point.
That's a really good point, because you were before we went live, you mentioned that Michael Kay brought up, why go to Clayton Andrews in a 4-3 game? Why did his strategy not change? That's what Kay said.
Yeah.
Why did the strategy not change when it became a ball game again? Why wasn't Weaver the guy brought in to keep that thing 4-3? Because you may have been able to come back. Now, the back end of that Mariners bullpen, that entire Mariners pitching staff is filthy. And that goes back to an earlier comment by FJ. It's like he said that championship teams should be able to beat a guy like Wu, not when he's on like that.
Wu was great.
Wu was fantastic. I want to give him all the credit in the world. That pitching staff in Seattle is filthy. Their closer, Munoz, is absolutely disgusting. Those guys know how to pitch. And the fact that we were able to scrape some runs across in the first game against, it was Gilbert, I would take it. They got a hell of a pitching staff. But why did the strategy not change? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's break down game 2. We've covered game 1. That was basically what we've been touching on mostly. First of all, game 1 was just a weird one. I can't blame Aaron Boone for it. If you look at it, Clay Holmes didn't pitch great, but it was bound to happen. It wasn't all his fault, though. There was some defensive misplays, and we left a lot of people on the base paths. So that's game 1 done. Let's cover game 2. But first of all, I do want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat. So everybody in the chat, give us a shout out, say hello. We got plenty of people in the chat now. Everyone's kind of jumping in. So let's start with Stevie B. Salutes to Stevie G and FJ. Salute to you. Uncle Tats, prayers to you, brother. I hope you're having a better day as the day progresses and everything works out for you and your family. We love you, man. Absolute champion of a guy. Can't wait to hang out with him in the summer. Got Joan. Salute to Joan. Damian Serrano, one of our favorite dudes in the chat, always comes in with excellent takes. So salute to you, Damian. Jonathan. Salute to Jonathan. NFE, the GOAT, the OG in the chat. Salute to you, my man. FJ2, definitely in there as well. What else we got? We got Mr. Barros. Salute to you, my man. Frederick, hope you're having a good morning, Frederick. And Joan, love you, Joan. Cold Italian Pizza, my guy. Yo. The only other guy who goes, whoa, is Calzone in right field for Seattle. Everyone's doing that for him. Oh, what the fuck? Is he like Anthony Rizzo or something? So, yeah, anyway, everybody have a great morning. Thanks so much for joining us. Yeah, let's break down game 2. So we'll get into the strategy first. Let's start with Clark Schmidt. Let's start with the positive about game 2. I thought Clark Schmidt pitched really well. At one point, he retired 7 straight guys. At one point, he had 4 straight strikeouts. I think the only thing about him was once he got into about the fourth inning, he got to a two-strike count, but then started running up the pitch count. He just didn't have quite the put-away pitch as we got into the fourth and fifth inning. Then that's when the pitch count started to ratchet up. I can't blame him for one pitch that was not located as normal for him, and it went out of the yard. I thought he pitched great. If you look at it, I thought he pitched great. I think the only thing was that he maybe struggled to put away guys in the fourth and fifth inning, but he still got out of it and he pitched great. So I thought he was a positive. The offense looked lost, and that's where Wu just looks like an absolute champion. So before we get into that specific discussion, which is really well brought up, let's touch on the first 7 innings before we got onto where it all went wrong. Rob.
I mean, you can't ask for much more from Schmidt. Knowing that his pitch count was going up, he did have 6 strikeouts. I think he walked a couple. Had 2 bad pitches, and one of them obviously was the home run. Did he give up 1 home run? Was it 2?
Yeah, it was. I think it was
just the 1 home run. But
it was a 2-run shot, right?
Yeah, I think so. Overall, he pitched fine. Like, again, for a guy to be at 100 pitches, to know that he's going to give you 5 innings, just 2 runs, that keeps you in the ball game. I mean, he wasn't going to give you. He's the guy that does not go past the 6th inning very often. We're expecting him to give you 5, maybe 6 tops. His last start, he threw a career high in innings. So to ask him to bounce to do that again, it is difficult. It was 2 home runs. Okay, FJ, thank you. So it was 2 solo shots from the 9th hitter. It is what it is. Sometimes it happens. It's baseball. Still an overall good start. It still kept you in the game. You would expect your offense to come back from that. And the bullpen was a letdown. You're absolutely right, CBB. So if you would have told me Schmidt's going to go 5 and strike out 6 against Seattle on 100 pitches, I was like, okay, we probably would have won that game, right? Obviously, we didn't win the game. You chalk it up as the bad day for the offense, bad day for the bullpen, but the pitching rotation continues to be lights out. Absolutely stellar. Stroman was stellar, and Schmidt was fine.
Let's talk about Matt Blake for a second. Isn't he incredible?
That might be the best move that Cashman has made.
Fact.
That's not a player. Like outside of getting Cole and the trade for Soto. Yeah. The Matt Blake hiring might have been the best thing they've ever done, because do you remember how bad we had it with Larry Rothschild? Good pitchers would come here and just say, throw your cutter. Now Matt Blake's like, hey, man, you've got some good velocity with some sink. Throw that, or throw this pitch a little bit more. Look what he did for Clay Holmes. Look what he did for Wandy Peralta. He got Wandy Peralta paid pretty well, considering what he was in San Francisco. He's turned Nick Birdie, who hasn't pitched in years due to injury, into a pretty effective bullpen arm. Yeah. Most of the guys that we bring in,
he made Mike King the principal trade piece for a deal for Juan Soto.
Yeah, that hasn't really worked out too well. So yeah. I hate it because I love Michael King, but you're seeing what a good pitching coach can do and what good analytics can do and what a good system can do. The Yankees have built over the last, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 years, going back to maybe 2019 or so. The way they have built this system, from drafting to minor league development, the firehouse or whatever it's called out there in the minor league system, they are doing a hell of a job. And yeah, look at Tonkin, like NFE brings up. Tonkin was tossed around the league, and he's actually been pretty effective for us his last few outings. I mean, who would have thought that it's happened? Marinaccio came back this year, pitched well. I want to see him back up, but there are only a few arms that have really not been able to succeed under Matt Blake, but look what he's done for Clark Schmidt. He's turned this guy into a legitimate rotation arm. Even Nestor Cortez was bounced around, comes to Matt Blake. Now he's a reliable starter. Luis Heel, look what he's doing with Luis Heel. I mean, this is fantastic stuff, and I'm very happy. They got to keep this guy here for the rest of his baseball career, but because he's doing so well, might get him a manager job at some point. That's how good he's been.
Oh, I hope that's far, far away, because you're right. And also, and if he brings up Tonkin, the best example of someone that Blake loves is Weaver. Weaver was Blake's guy. Blake has absolutely championed Weaver. And that's why Cashman brought him back. And then it's what I love about what Brian Cashman's doing. He's turning to his pitching coach, going, right, who do you love, right? Which guy do you think that you can work on? And Weaver was that guy. They brought in Weaver. Weaver's now one of the best relievers in the game. Salute to Jerry. Matt Blake is great. He really is great, and I think it's time that we give him the credit that he is due. I think it's overlooked by in general and amongst the Yankee universe, and it shouldn't be because that Weaver signing was a steal. It really was. It's one of the steals of the steal of the offseason, in my opinion. And again, it's kind of flown under the radar, but that was a guy that Matt Blake championed. He's like, I can work with this guy. I can make something happen with this guy, and he does. So that's a sign of a good front office, a good organization where they're starting to trust the people that are in charge, going, right, who do you love that you think that we can get the best out of? And Weaver is the principal example of that. So yeah, as Jerry says, 2 million, what a bargain. Crazy bargain. So you know what? That's why I'm thinking that, you know, when Cashman stood up and says, you know, we're pretty freaking good. That little flex, although I completely railed against it at the time, now in hindsight, the dude was right. So yeah, I think that it's time to start paying more attention to some of the good things that our front office has been doing, because I think it's important because, you know, as a podcast, we've never had any agendas. And I think this is something that I'm really proud of about the Pinstripe Chronicles. We don't have any agendas. We don't just go, we hate Aaron Boone, get him out, and then stick to it forever, whether we're in first place or last place. Do you know what I'm saying? We roll with it, and if things are good, then we're positive. If things need to be critiqued, we will be critiquing. So we don't have any agenda. So that's the thing. Like last year, I was unhappy with Brian Cashman's performance. I thought it was a really bad performance. But then I thought he had an excellent offseason, and we said so. And this year, I have no arguments with the way that Cashman has run this organization. I think it's been brilliant. I really do. So there's a lot of, and I'm not naming any names, but there are content creators out there that stick to an agenda and let it run, whether they like it or not. You know, whether we like it or not, whether it's fair or not. And we don't have any agendas here. We're just like, we call it as we see it, and that's why I think Cashman deserves some praise. And if it goes wrong, then we'll talk about it. But at the moment, he deserves praise. Rob, what do you think?
I mean, what's there to critique about his offseason? Like we said earlier, and everything he did, every move he made has paid off. Maybe without, well, Grisham was a throw-in. Trent Grisham, that guy, he can't hit. I think he's won. What is he? One for 40 or something, like 2 for. It's been bad watching him play, but obviously, whenever you get Juan Soto, your offseason's automatically a B, at least by default, even if they did nothing else. B plus, yeah. You got Verdugo like the night before, which was a very underrated move that we were very high on for obvious reasons. Look what he's done. He's been fantastic. He was the entire offense the other night. He's been a superb defender in left field, and he's been a great clubhouse guy. Look at Marcus Stroman. When the Yankees were interested and we heard about that, there was nothing but negativity. We were all like, I don't want that. What about the Twitter stuff? What about the Twitter stuff? Did you see his tweet the other day? He wants to run through a brick wall for Aaron Boone. How quickly do you get the fans back on your side? By saying things like that. He was clapping, he's pounding his chest for the fans. All of a sudden, a year ago, if you would have told me Marcus Stroman was going to be in the good graces of Yankee fans, I'd say, no way. No way. We're in a parallel universe. Well, we're in that parallel universe now or alternate universe, because Marcus Stroman is one of the most liked players in the clubhouse right now. They love him. The fans love him. That tweet had everybody on his side saying I would run through a brick wall for the manager.
But that's another thing, though. That's why I'm talking about how we don't have any agendas here, because we're seeing things positively for Aaron Boone, whereas there's a lot of people that say that Aaron Boone can't manage and Aaron Boone doesn't know how to run a locker room. Well, you got Marcus Stroman saying he'd run through a wall for this guy. Maybe Aaron Boone does know how to manage.
I said this 2 years ago when that first half of the season, I stick by this take. 2022 showed me that he could be I don't want to say very good or a great, but he can be a good enough manager if not being run by a computer. because the second half of that season, it was clearly analytics took over, bat judge lead off because they don't want to pitch to anybody else. It wasn't managed by gut, managed by instinct. 2022, Tats, you're in the chat. You were there. You were there with us. You, of course, know. We did not critique Aaron Boone once for like 3 months. And it might have been a record. We might break that record this year for all we know. We didn't critique him at all. He was managing by his gut. The Yankees were doing right. They were hitting running at the right time. They were using the small ball. They were manufacturing runs. They were playing a flawless brand of baseball for a good 2.5, 3 months. Then the second half of the season started, and everything that we critiqued Boone about before came back. So I know that this is a baseball guy. His family is literally baseball. He knows the sport. But when he's being told to do things a certain way, that's when you're seeing the bad decisions. And I don't know if analytics told him or if they had the game scripted last night to say, we're going to let Andrews pitch, no, and we're going to send him back down tomorrow because Canely is back. Right, there you go. But we've seen him make good decisions. We've seen him make bad ones, but we critique him when we need to and we praise him when we need to. And that's what being a fan is. We know he's not going anywhere. We know that. And NFE just said it. When guys like Judge and Cole and now Stroman are giving their approval to Boone, our opinions don't matter. And that's perfectly said, NFE. We do not matter. If Aaron Judge is saying, I want Aaron Boone to be my manager, I love Booney, you think Brian Cashman's going to go, yeah, well, Twitter user I hate Boone says we should fire him. No, they're going to stick with Aaron Boone. They love him there. Hal loves him. Cashman loves him. And so far this year, we're in first place. We're 16 games over 500. He's done a hell of a job. He's had a couple of clunkers, but there's no such thing as a perfect manager. There is very little things that you can critique about Aaron Boone for this year. You can talk about his decision
we've
making.
spent entire podcasts ripping the bejesus out of his playoff management, and that's the thing that he really needs to prove to me, because he's proven in the past that he can manage a regular season over the long haul, but playoffs he's not proven yet. He looks a little overmatched at times, so that's a fair critique because look at our record in the playoffs. This is a big opportunity to prove that wrong, to change that script. But right now, I think he's managed very well. But that's a good segue to say that he screwed up yesterday, because he really did. So let's bring in let's be fair here, because he really did screw up yesterday. What the hell was going on? Why did you bring in Andrews? And this is the thing, because even Michael K brought it up. Michael K said, why didn't our strategy change when Gleyber Torres hit the surprise 3-run home run? He hits the home run. Now the stadium is rocking. It's 4-3. The energy is through the roof. Yankee Stadium is rocking. Bernie Williams is in the front row, and already the fans are on board. They're excited. You know, one of our goats has got a front view seat. He's saying hello to the crowd. Then Gleyber Torres hits a 3-run jack job, and it's a 1-run game. Anything can happen. We're right there. And then Aaron Boone kills the momentum in one foul swoop. Because he brings in Andrews, right? And this is his numbers in AAA, guys, and in case you're trying to excuse this, right? A 6.60 ERA in AAA with 12 walks in 15 innings. So, legitimately, he is the worst arm in the bullpen. Okay? Now, if you're 4-0 down and you're trying to protect your prized arms, okay. But when it's 4-3 and the game is now back, right? And you know that Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and Verdugo will get another opportunity in the next inning, right? Why would you then destroy your chances by bringing in the worst reliever in the bullpen? Why didn't your strategy change? Why didn't your strategy change at 4-3 not to put in Birdie from the start of the 8th inning? That was a huge mistake, because one pitch, it's gone. Now it was like a freaking lead balloon. The entire energy out of the stadium went, and then the stadium was freaking quiet again. And that's all on Aaron Boone. You cannot do that as a manager. You have got to read the game. Stop looking at, oh, well, this is our opportunity to bring in this guy just for an inning. Why not? No. The game is back. The game is back on, right? The fans are on your side. You got the momentum. Ride the momentum. You've always, as a manager, you've got to ride the momentum. The fans are telling you what's happening in this game right now. This game's back on. Listen to the fans, right? Use your best relievers, and let's see if we have a rally in our bones, which we probably would have, right? Because the stadium was back, but they blew it. And Boone blew it. He blew it.
Yeah.
This guy Andrews sucks. And he doesn't just suck in the majors, he sucks in AAA. 660, there's no right in heaven or hell that he should be in the major leagues. If you're pitching to a 660 ERA in AAA, you do not deserve to be in the major leagues. There is no excuse for that. That is a terrible, terrible mismanagement job. Terrible. Ron Marinaccio should have been up. No wonder Marinaccio was pissed, right? So that's one thing I can critique the front office on. Marinaccio's pissed. He's pitched great, and he gets sent down. Why? Just purely to manipulate service time.
And options. That's all.
And options. That sucks. I don't like that at all.
No, yes, you're right.
Facts. Exactly. I honestly, I thought it was terrible. Completely.
No, they
Andrews looks like he got shrunk by Rick Moranis and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He's about 5 foot fuck all, and he got absolutely torched, and he looks like shit. Get him out of my team. That was a terribly managed inning.
You're right, and he's not there anymore. So some people are saying DFA him. He was sent down. Canley's back. It's official. They activated him.
What's the point in doing that in the first place then?
Yeah, that was my biggest issue. I was like, I hope they're just calling him up to have the 26th man on the roster, but do not use him. And especially if that game was like 10-0 Seattle, all right, let him pitch. Let him throw the next 3 innings and save your bullpen for tomorrow night. That is when you use a guy like Clayton Andrews. And I hate saying it because the guy's trying to make a career in the major leagues, but that's when you use a guy like him. He was called up specifically knowing that Canley was coming back in the next few days. He should not have pitched unless the Yankees were either up by 10 or 7 or 8 or down by 7 to 8 or 10, whatever. That's when you use a guy like him. He's the last man on the roster. You don't use him in a 4-3 game. That was a terrible decision. Like FJ mentioned earlier, why wasn't Weaver? It might have been FJ. I don't remember who it was, but why did Weaver not come in? He only threw 6 pitches. I understand not using Holmes after the night before. That's fine. But Ferguson was available. Birdie was available. Weaver should have been available. Why are you not going to these guys in that spot? So, and the good thing is Boone did hold himself accountable. He said it was a mistake. He said he probably shouldn't have done that. But hopefully they make a couple of more moves. I think there's a lane.
You know who would have hated that? You know who would have hated hearing that? George Steinbrenner. He hates his managers coming out publicly saying, I fucked that up, boy. But Ben's right. He did fuck it up, and at least he admitted it.
Yeah. Yeah, but he said the word lane. That was a good lane to use, Clayton Andrews. And it just made me think back to all the times that I wanted to scream about Aaron Boone's post-game comments. But then he said, I probably shouldn't have done it. At least he owned up to it. You can afford those kind of mistakes, I guess, and hold yourself accountable on May 21st when you're 16 games over 500. You can be like, all right, just don't do it again. But if this were different circumstances, we'd all be a lot more pissed off about it. I don't get it. Why did the strategy? That's my biggest question. And Michael Kay is absolutely right. For the first time, I think this year, I really agree with Michael Kay because he's speaking facts. He wasn't kind of hiding behind the whole I'm the Yankee announcer. I can't critique them. Why did you not change your approach when the game was back on? The stadium, like you said, everything you said is spot on. The stadium was on fire. They were going crazy. My boy Bernie was there. You should have been like, all right, we can win this thing. We can bounce back from last night. We can come back and win this thing. And they blew that chance. First pitch he throws, goes over the wall. I literally just laughed. I said, all right, let's see what you got. All right. That's what you got, huh? Before you could even blink, this guy's got an ERA of 27 or infinity. Like, come on. Like, just that's how it went. I'm like, all right, well, this
Question
is not going to
posed,
be a game.
question answered.
Yeah, like within
What's
the
he got?
snap of a finger. What do you got,
There it
kid?
is. Ah,
That's what you got. Man, it was a bad decision. Hopefully, we don't see more of that. I still think there's a chance that we would hopefully see Marinaccio again. Maybe Santana's time has run out because he got tagged last night again. He's starting to really struggle after starting off hot. So and then he hit the next guy. So like, how bad could you have possibly started your Yankee career? And probably your only appearance, because if we see him again, then something has gone wrong. But I
bro.
just think there was maybe, why didn't you call up Cousins? At least Cousins, I don't know if they DFA'd him or not, but he may have been the only guy available to pitch. But why was he in there in a 1-run game? If it was still 4-0, fine, whatever. But 4-3, you got new life, and then you go to Clayton Andrews. Yeah, we're going to critique that move. And it sucks because I did not see that happening. I was like, all right, you're going to go to Weaver or something, right? Or Ferguson. Go to Ferguson here. And even Boone said, maybe I should have gone to Ferguson. Well, you should have, because Ferguson probably would have gotten out of that inning and you have a chance to come back. It's a really, really, really bad move. And it
It was
cost
a
us the chance
really
to win that game.
dumb move. A really dumb
Boone-headed
move.
move. As,
It really was, man. Like, how do you? I haven't seen 40,000 people deflate that quickly since since I can't remember when. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was just like bang. The whole place was rocking, and then bang. Oh, silence. Wow. What the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
Where's Fredericks? George even fired. Yo, have you been watching that 90s Yankees documentary on
No, I
Peacock?
want to know what platform it's on so I can watch it.
Peacock. It's I'm only on the second episode, but the shit that George Steinbrenner, the levels he stooped to get dirt on Dave Winfield, you got to watch it, man. That shit is wild. I wasn't born in 1990. I didn't know what was going on. Mel Hall, you sick piece of shit. Oh my God. That team was a nightmare. We think we had it bad last year. Imagine being, well, Sunil and Bobby Tats are probably living through the 90 season. My dad certainly was. I'm sure some people in the chat might have been, but you think we got it bad? What, last year or freaking 2013? I would not wanted to have lived through that 1990 season. My goodness, that was a disaster. That team
George even
sucked.
fired Yogi 40 years ago. No, I learned that by watching the Yogi documentary. There was a really good documentary, and I think it was Yogi's granddaughter did an amazing job putting together this movie about Yogi Berra. And yeah, George, I think that was George's one major misstep was firing Yogi while the team was actually doing pretty well, and then Yogi never forgave the Yankees until he came back on David Cohn's perfect game day back in 1999, which I was there for. But that was the first. That was the first time that Yogi Berra even watched a Yankee game up until that point. So imagine pissing off like one of the top 6 or 7 Yankees of all time like that. Total terrible job. Terrible job, but what can you do? I'm looking forward to actually watching that documentary. There was a point earlier where we learned that Clark Schmidt actually admitted to tipping his pitches yesterday. So that's quite interesting to learn. Oh, here we go. And if he Schmidt admitted to tipping his pitches. Tweet put out by Brian Hodge. Good job, NFE. Thanks for letting us know. But you know, that's a funny thing. It didn't matter because he still pitched
Yeah,
great.
he was
It
fine.
didn't make any difference. It was kind of like what Michael Kay said yesterday. He said that Doug Gooden was tipping his pitches, tipping his curveball in the year that he won the Cy Young. And he pitched to a sub-2 ERA. So just because you tip your pitches, you still need the other guy to actually hit it. And I thought Schmidt pitched great. So what can you do? Yeah,
If anything, they drove his pitch count up.
that was the one thing. It did. That was probably got him out a little earlier. But again, maybe if Boone managed the bullpen properly yesterday, then it wouldn't have been a big deal. At the end of the day, our offense stunk yesterday, apart from Torres' 3-run jack job. Just everyone looked a little off. I think one thing we can talk about is Grisham. What are we
Oh,
gonna do with this position? Because that dude's ass, right? And Stanton's red hot. You took Stanton out for kind of no reason, just to give another game in center field for Grisham, who can't play right now. He stinks. He's 1 for 25, I believe, to start the year.
it's. Do you think about just taking what you can for him? I don't know if he's on this team past the deadline. I don't know if there's a team that's going to want him. But I can't. You couldn't convince me that Greg Allen wouldn't be a better fourth outfielder right now. And we got him in AAA for a reason. Um, I don't think the Yankees would have targeted Grisham if the Padres were not insistent. I think that was part of the deal. Like, hey, we'll take a little bit less, but you got to take Grisham because he's owed about $5 million. And had that not been the case, I don't think the Yankees would have targeted him. So I know they don't really have a plan for him except for just be a guy in center field. DHing Judge is a good move considering that toe is going to have to be looked at every so often. But my God, watching him, yeah, you're right, Damien. He's never been a great offensive player, but he does have a tendency to hit a home run every once in a while. And you think that swing was tailor made for Yankee Stadium just to have a few porch jobs, but no, he doesn't even make contact. Like it's rough watching him play. It's not. It might be worse than Aaron Hicks because even Hicks last year was giving us a couple of big at bats before they DFA'd him.
Calm down. Calm down. Let's not go overboard here.
The last week of Aaron Hicks's Yankee career, he actually had a couple of big hits against Toronto, more than Trent Grisham has had this year. I'll tell you that much.
I don't
That's
know,
how
man.
bad it's been watching Grisham. Defensively, he's fine.
Like comparing, it's like comparing Hitler to Himmler. I mean, they're both bad, right? Let's not go overboard here.
Sorry, Tom.
I think I've sunk her off. I can't talk right now. Damian Serrano, absolutely worse than Aaron Hicks. Bro, Grisham is ass. But, you know, I can't say I predicted it. I thought the Grisham was a really good pickup.
Yeah.
What can, I thought he was going to be great. I think the one thing that he's struggling with right now is the fact that he is an everyday player that is now a bit part player. And I don't think he knows what he can do about that. I don't think he knows like how to change and adjust his mentality to being prepared to play once every 2 weeks. Because I think that's the thing that he's really struggling with right now. That's it for me because he looks miserable out there. So Tats, I needed that title. Thanks, bro. I got you, bro. If you want the jokes, come over here. Grisham looks completely miserable. He does. He looks completely miserable offensively. You can tell. Look at his approach. He looks miserable. He's like, and his at bats are ass. They aren't at bats? They're ass bats. They're just absolutely just lead balloons out there. So, but he's really nice in center field, but it's not worth it. What are you going to do? Like, he's such a good center fielder, right? He's a gold glove center fielder, but what can you change? You're not changing. You're never going to put him in as a defensive replacement. Verdugo was a gold glove left fielder, right? Aaron Judge is Aaron freaking Judge. You're never going to take him out, right? Even though Grisham's probably a better center fielder than Aaron Judge, you're not going to do that because freaking Aaron Judge and Juan Soto's freaking king. So what are you going to do? You're not going to use him as a defensive replacement. So I think that Grisham is now available. He has to be available. He should be available. I don't know what we're going to do with him. I think you're right. I think a Greg Allen is more suited to this role. You're never going to need a fourth outfielder that's a Grisham that's used to playing every day. You need to trade him to a team that needs an everyday center fielder, right? Get a bullpen arm back, and then use a Greg Allen as a fourth outfielder, in my opinion, because you're never going to take out Aaron Judge. You're never going to take out Juan Soto, and you're never going to take Verdugo, and nor should you, right? The only spot that's up for grabs right now is the DH spot, and it's not really up for grabs because Giancarlo Stanton's having one of his best years since his first year as a Yankee. So, what? Where's these at bats going to come from? And Grisham isn't giving you anything. So, I think that's one guy that has not pulled his weight. He's the one guy that looks completely miserable. You can tell in his face he looks completely miserable. And I think he needs to go. As Damien says, as my NFP says, kick rocks. Is Allen on a 40-man roster? Jared says another loss. Melo says that first game should have been ours. Spot on.
Yeah. And no, Frederick, he's not on the 40-man, but if Grisham is gone, then there's a spot that opens up. So I don't see a point of having, like you said, Grisham's not a great hitter, but he's a guy that's used to playing 140 some odd games. At this rate, he'll play 30. And that's not going to do you any good. And I know why he's here, because he was a throw-in with the Soto trade to eat some more money. They were able to clear roughly $38 million in payroll with that trade. So I get why they did it. I get why the Yankees took him. But if there's a team out there that's willing to give you anything just to get this guy in their lineup or whatever, then you got to explore it, because they gave Greg Allen a very interesting minor league contract that gives him more money based on games played and at bats. So I think they know that they knew that at some point they were looking to maybe move Trent Grisham because they don't play him. And he doesn't play well, but we've seen in the past when a guy goes elsewhere and gets playing time, like even Jake Bauers has been kind of effective for Milwaukee. You know, remember Aaron Hicks last year went to Baltimore and he was a good player again. So for half a season, because look, he got DFA'd again this year. But maybe a chance to play every day would do good for Grisham, and it would do good for the Yankees because that's not utilizing his skill set. Defensive replacement, start every 6 days, once a week to give Judge a DH day. That's more suited for Greg Allen. That's a Greg Allen role. I think the Yankees should have looked to move Grisham soon after they got him, just to kind of like feel off his, hey, what would you want? What would you give us for a guy like Grisham? And then the Greg Allen signing would have made a lot more sense. But until that happens, he's kind of just there. And he's not producing. He's kind of just there.
He knows he's just there. He's just like, I've got no role here, and I'm pissed. That's basically what I'm seeing from him. Like, he just looks completely just checked out in a locker room, which is as locked in as I've seen since 2017. He's one guy that looks like he's checked out. Yes, spot on, Jerry. Donald, that first game now sets the tone for the rest of the series. Yeah, I don't think it's going to carry on much further beyond this series, but it definitely ran into yesterday. They just looked a little lost. And Melo says stupid decision for the manager. Yeah, we broke that down about 10 minutes ago. If you want to go back, if you haven't watched the whole episode, check that out. We really went into deep dive as to how he screwed it up, and he certainly did. Grisham is a Gold Glove caliber center field. Needs a change of scenery. Spot on. Like, he is a good center fielder. You even saw it yesterday. He tracked down a really hard hit ball and he made it look really easy. Really nice in center field. Unfortunately, he just doesn't have a role here. And I think he needs someone who's more comfortable with the fact that he's going to be a little used fourth outfielder. I think that's it. I think that's really yes, exactly. Let's go back to game 2 is a bust, right? Let's go touch on game 1. What did you think about a couple of things which I felt were low-key deciders, and that was getting thrown out on the base paths twice. Now, what I'm concerned about is that it's going to make the Yankees afraid to steal bases, and especially Volpe, because you don't obviously want to get thrown out before Juan Soto comes up, and that's one of my major concerns about Anthony Volpe leading off, because his speed is such a weapon, right? But if he is dissuaded or a little bit scared off from stealing bases in front of Juan Soto in case you are out before Juan Soto comes to plate, it takes away one of his biggest weapons. So this is something that we want to break down a little bit. Um, Here's my thoughts on that. I hope it doesn't dissuade him, right? Second of all, I can't believe it was actually overturned. Like, there was no evidence to suggest it should be overturned. Now, in my opinion, I think he was out, right? But it was about 51-49, 55-45, right? It was bang bang, right? And in those situations, it always has to go with the call that was on the field at the time. And the call on the field was that he was safe. There was no evidence to suggest he was out, even though I think that 9 times out of 10, yeah, maybe he was out, maybe, but there's no certainty. Why was that? Why was that overturned?
You're leaving up to the hands of the people that watch these, but they don't get these things right. I guess you can say they did get it right. I do think he was out, but considering the original call, it's hard to say there was enough evidence. Like that's what we always hear about when it comes to challenges. It's in the NFL. Is there enough evidence to overturn? It didn't look like there was. It wasn't a
No.
clear-cut thing. So it doesn't change the fact that we can't keep running ourselves out of innings. I know Birdie did it in the eighth inning. He got caught stealing as well. But man, I get this replay system is questionable because they get a lot of things wrong despite having 5-minute looks at these plays. They take a long time to make decisions. And I don't know if that was enough to overturn that. You could say they got it right, but was there enough? That's the big question. I don't think there was.
If Volpe was going to steal, he needs to steal on the first pitch. I think there was better pitches in which he could have stolen earlier in that count than he did. I'll certainly agree with that. I wouldn't say as far as Melo saying his stupid base run. I don't think it was stupid. It was bang bang. Like, I think in many cases that wouldn't have been overturned. But as I say, I do think he was probably out. But that's the thing. It wasn't just that it was overturned or the call made. I'm not suggesting that that the umpires completely screwed up or anything like that. My worry is that one of his great assets is his speed. I'm worried that his speed is going to be negated oddly at leadoff spot because you got Juan Soto batting second, and you have to make sure you're on base for Juan Soto. So, Rob, what do you think? Do you think that his strategy is going to be hurt by being a leadoff hitter if Juan Soto's following you up because you can't really steal bases in that scenario?
Yeah, and that goes to what Uncle Tats put up here. Question for everyone. Wasn't Volpe told not to steal for a while and concentrate on getting on base and staying on base for Soto and Judge? Why would you put him in the leadoff spot then, though? That's what I don't get. If you don't want your fastest guy stealing bases, don't put him in the primary base stealing spot. Because that's what do we when we talk about a leadoff hitter? You talk about a guy who can get on base, swipe a bag. I know baseball is different nowadays and all that, but you know that Volpe is your best guy. Him and John Birdie are the two best base stealers you have. Probably the
Yep.
only base stealers you have.
Fact.
Don't you want to utilize that? I know you don't want to take an out away, but Volpe is really good at stealing bases. So you want to utilize that every so often. He should have a lot more than 8 or 9 he has on the season right now. Volpe's a guy that should be a 20-20 guy every year. I know he was a season ago, but he should have more than 20 stolen bases per year.
Probably 30.
Especially now when you have guys that are like in the 30s right now, I think already. And It's May. Guys are stealing bases at an alarmingly high rate because of the new bases. So
and the Yankees aren't doing it, and it's odd. They're so station to station. And you look at the amount of hits that we get per game and the walks, and it doesn't translate to that many runs over the last little while. We've left a lot of base runners on the, and we've sometimes stranded a lot of base runners over at third, a lot of double plays. And I'm wondering if we stole a little bit more bases, it would take the double play away.
Hit and runs, do some hit and runs, something like that.
Yeah, we saw one hit and run, and it worked out beautifully. Run, scored.
They didn't do
Maybe
it.
do that a little bit more.
They haven't done it since. I
No,
would say do it
it
more
but it's hard to do that though because this is a team that's so like the middle of the order is so based around power,
and slow.
especially. So that's I think I want to see Volpe steal a ton of bases because look at the fact that he's got a really nice on base streak right now, and he's got is that 15 game hitting streak or 17 game hitting streak now, and he should be stealing a little bit more bases. But again, I can't blame him because there's that concern that you run yourself out of an inning before Juan Soto and Aaron Judge follow you up. That's why I think that he was probably most comfortable in the sixth spot in the order because he can basically steal bases just willy nilly for fun because it doesn't really matter. You know, you're not got a Juan Soto next to behind you, so you could just basically run and run, run, use your speed, and maybe you can get more runs developed that way, and it lengthens your lineup. But then the other side of the coin is the dude's on a massive hitting streak, and he's doing really well at the top of the order. So that's
What
the
do you
thing.
do?
What do
That's the
you do?
question, though. What do you do when DJ LeMahieu's back? Do you bat him lead off, or do you put him in the 7 or 8 spot?
Right now, I think you probably stick it to what it is right now. I think you probably stick with Volpe at the top, and then you have DJ LeMahieu more in the sixth spot. I think it probably lengthens the lineup. What do you think?
Yeah. I think you have to stick with it now because Volpe's finally turned it around. If he was still swinging the bat the way he was about 3 or so weeks ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, I would say absolutely. DJ leadoff, Volpe bottom of the order. Yeah, I mean they're going crazy. You're right, Jerry. Like I said, like
This is so good. I love watching that guy play.
he's nuts. He's so freaking fast, and I know Volpe's not on that level of speed, but he should be our top base stealer by a country mile, and he should have a lot more than 8. I think 8 or 9. So that's all I'm saying. I want them to utilize his speed, but right now, I don't think you take Volpe out of the leadoff spot
No, I
because
don't
we
think you
don't
can.
know what DJ's
Not
going to
with his
be.
hitting streak. He's on a
Right.
massive hitting streak right now, and it's
Exactly.
awesome. And a shout out to Volpe. I'm not going to criticize him for stealing that base. He tried. I think that was the right call. It just didn't work out. I don't want to take away his aggression. I think that's my biggest point. Is I want him to be aggressive, but just be smart in future. Pick your spots. But I do want him to be a little bit more aggressive on the base pass. As Tad says here, we're in extra innings of Pinstripe Chronicles. We always tend to run over an hour anyway. We always got so much to talk about. If you haven't hit the like button at this point, what are we waiting for exactly? Do you know how much it helps our algorithm, people? We want this to grow, grow, grow. Let's get this grown. Let's hit the sub button. Anyone who's watching, tell your friends about it. Tell a stranger about it. Tell the guy at the bodega about it. Tell your guy at the deli about it. Let these sub buttons up because we know there is a massive Yankee universe out there, and we want to reach as many people as possible, and get up to the 700 sub mark very, very soon.
Yeah, we are closing in on 700. So yes, guys, hit that sub, hit that like
You guys
button.
ready to play Holmes? Not at all. Not at all. I mean,
One bad outing.
One
bad outing out of what 12 or 13. He's been perfect. If he has another bad outing, then I'll be a little bit cautious. But one bad outing out of 2 months is more than I could have expected to this point.
But that's the thing about sports, guys. Like that's a great thing about sports is the fact that it's never over till it's over. We all thought that game was over. We were up 4-1. We had Clay Holmes with a 0.0000 ERA up on the mound, and he gets the first out so easy. Bases are empty. You're 2 outs away, and we're strolling along, and then it all changed like that. That's what sports is all about. It's never over till it's over. So, hey, it's going to happen for the Yankees too. The Yankees are going to take on a freaking one of the best closers in the game, and they're going to be down 3 runs and look like it's over, and then bang, 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 Yankees win. That's what's going to happen. It evens out.
It did to Class A earlier this year.
There you go. It evens out.
Cleveland.
That's it. Let's say before we leave, let's have a brief talk about our matchup for Game 3.
Yes, we do, and I also do want to bring in a new segment for the day.
Oh, good.
Yes, because I've been wanting to talk about prospects for a while. So instead of the prospect of the week, we're going to go with the new prospect spotlight of the day. So for the first ever prospect spotlight here on this Wednesday, we're going to talk about my favorite pitching prospect in the system, Brock Selvage. Say it like Paul Heyman, Brock Selvage, out there in Double-A Somerset, pitching to an even 3 ERA, 39 innings, 41 strikeouts, a 1.18 WHIP. He is 3-2 in only 7 starts on the year. If you don't remember, he did pitch that spring breakout game. He looked magnificent. This guy, in my opinion, has already taken over as the Yankees' best pitching prospect. I think he's already leaped Will Warren. Chase Hampton has not pitched yet. I think at this point next year, we're going to be talking about Brock Selvage the way we were talking about Warren and Hampton and even Luis Heel this year. I think Selvage is a guy that everyone needs to keep their eye on because he's going to be in the major leagues a lot sooner than later. He's got that dog mentality we all like to hear about. He's a gamer. The guy throws hard. Every pitch is like is like watching a movie with him. He's nuts out there. He is exciting. Keep your eye on Brock Selvage. So far, so good for one of the Yankees' top arms in this very loaded minor league system.
Talk about his arsenal.
Very, very heavy fastball. He throws some heat. He's got good breaking stuff. About a 4, maybe 5 pitch guy. I would say he probably keeps it a little bit lower when he gets up to the higher levels. You don't want to have too many pitches because that could hurt you. Sometimes you need 3 pitches. You just need to have those good 3 pitches. Fastball, breaking ball. He throws a changeup. Everything's working well right now. He's getting the strikeouts. He's not working himself into too much trouble. A nice 3 ERA. I love his fastball, though. He's a mean pitcher, and he's got very, very good control. That is something that he has worked on over the last couple of years. It's gotten better. Over the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, his control has gotten so much better to where he's not missing his spots, and you saw that in the breakout game. He was hitting spots. He was getting strikeouts. Everything was moving. The spin was there. Keep your eye on Brock Selvage.
And why would you have him above Will Warren?
I just think he's got better stuff. Overall, better stuff. Warren is a guy that, if he does get here, he's probably bottom of the rotation. Maybe a 4 or 5. 3 is probably his height, which is fine. But Selvage has all the potential. He's got the arsenal to be a number 2. If Garrett Cole wasn't here, you could make the case that in the future he'd be number 1. That's the kind of stuff that he has. The Yankees are very high on him. He's only 21, 22 years old. He's already in Double-A. He will probably be in Triple-A by the time we wrap up this year. And I think by next season, he's a guy that we're going to be talking about the same way we were talking about Warren. Warren's off to kind of a rough start. He got tagged yesterday. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not
decision.
overly high on Warren. I'm one of the few. I'm not massively high on him. I don't love his stuff. I thought that Heel absolutely ran away with the job.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was a competition. That's why Heel is doing so well. So are you saying that Brock Selvage can be as good as Heel?
I mean, right now, it's hard to say anyone will be as good as what Heel's been doing.
Yeah.
But I believe Brock Selvage has that kind of stuff that he could be right on par with what Luis Heel's been doing.
What up,
from
Jacob?
the left side as well. Big power lefty.
What would you say his ETA is?
Next year. I think next year could be the earliest we see him.
Incredible.
2025. What?
Have you got any clips of my guy?
Not on the site or anything, but if you go back and just look at that breakout game, you'll see everything that you need to know about Brock Selvage. Just watch his start from the spring breakout game. There's a reason they let him go as long as they did. They're very high on Brock Selvage. Very, very exciting arm.
Where is he currently ranked as amongst our prospects?
Depending on the site you look at, I think Pipeline has him top 10, but I have to go double check that.
All right, while you do that, let's say hello to Jacob. How you doing, Jacob? Jared says, I was more mad when Aaron Boone decided to take Clay Holmes out after the Mariners took the lead. Yeah, I think we could maybe argue that Boone probably waited maybe a pitch too long regarding Clay Holmes. I think he probably could have taken him out a little sooner than he did. But this is one of those things.
Has him at 10.
So he's a top 10 prospect.
Yeah. And I believe that he's going to be higher up there by when the midseason rankings comes out, he'll probably be higher up.
Well, there you go. You've heard it from the horse's mouth. Let's give a shout out to Rob there for that. Right, let's do a little breakdown for Game 3.
Yes, let's do so. We have a chance to make this a 2-1 series. Hopefully they can do that because the Yankees will be sending the best home pitcher that we could possibly send out there. The nastiest of Nestors, Nestor Cortez. We're looking for his 3rd win of the season. Goes up against Bryce Miller, who is another one of those very good Seattle pitchers. So it doesn't get much easier for this offense. You go from Wu to Miller, 2 guys that we were hoping the Yankees could swing a deal for in the offseason because the Mariners are so loaded with pitching. Miller currently with a 3.08 ERA. So it'll be a tough assignment indeed to go up against Bryce Miller. This could be a pitcher's duel for all we know. With the way Nestor pitches at home and the way Bryce Miller is filthy, we could be in for a low-scoring affair. Hopefully the Yankees are able to come out on top.
And opening pitch?
And it's going to be another 7:05 start
7:05.
time. I wish they'd been a little bit earlier. It's on Amazon Prime, by the way. So anyone who doesn't have that,
there we go.
Computer,
another Prime,
and the old Google for some streaming sites. Don't pay for all these apps, guys. Don't do it.
Oh my God, are we getting Castillo tomorrow?
Yes, it's gonna.
No,
guys, this is a nightmare. Going against the Mariners for 4-game set, you know you're going to be in for a rough series.
We walked into a buzzsaw.
We didn't even see. I don't think we saw Kirby, right? Because the first game they went, it was Gilbert. The first game was Gilbert, and yesterday was Wu, who's fantastic. Tonight's Miller, who's fantastic, and Castillo tomorrow. We know what he does to the Yankees, so it's going to be a very difficult split if they are able to get it. But this is a real test now for these bats.
We're running into a buzzsaw. They've got a hell of a pitching staff, Seattle. Really do. So salute to them. They've really built a beautiful pitching staff over there. And I have to say, I'm incredibly impressed with the right fielder. Kazoni, I think he's fantastic. Really good. He's taken away like at least 3, maybe 4 extra base hits from the Yankees already this series.
It's annoying, but he's good.
It is. It's infuriating.
Very annoying.
Oh boy. Hey, did anyone catch that joke from Michael Kay on Meredith Marakovich? He said, "All right, Meredith, which celebrity would you ask to prom?" And then she goes, "Well, I don't know, Michael. It was a long time ago." And then Michael goes, "Babe Ruth." That's kind of like what you don't do is you don't make fun of a woman's age. Like even Michael Kay must know that. Come on.
Michael Kay's got to be triple her age at this point, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how old Meredith is, but that's like the age jokes I use on Sunil all the time.
I know. That was like it was right out of the Sunil book. I think Michael Kay was taking notes from Sunil. That was
never a good idea. Michael Kay taking joke ideas from Sunil.
I know, and she was silent after it. I can't blame her. Poor Meredith. We love Meredith. She doesn't deserve that. Michael Kay is 64. There you go.
64? Oh my God. He's making a prom. Why is he bringing up prom? Why was he bringing it? Was it because of the Bryce Harper thing?
Because of the Bryce Harper thing.
So I was going to say the timing on it is very weird with that documentary that came out with the whole Mel Hall going to a high school girl's prom thing. It was a really, really bad timing. That whole Mel Hall thing was just, oh my God. If anyone hasn't seen it yet.
Piling up the L's right now. The S Network needs to go on a nice streak, please, of some decent television. Although I will say, I really like Todd Frazier now. I think he's been a pretty solid color guy. He seems like he's got more energy than Jeff Nelson.
Yeah. I just hope they don't show that picture of him and Jeter from the freaking minor league, or not the minor league, the Little League World Series.
Hopefully that's already been and gone. Michael Kay and I were at Fordham. That's insane, bro.
Wow. Did he always have that big ass head?
Like at Fordham? I want to know. I want to know. I want to know the inside scoop on the voice of the Yankees. Salute to FG. I'm looking forward to hearing more. You give us more information on that in our next podcast.
Listen, as much as I try, I can't possibly go that. Yeah, you can. Give it some time. You can. Yeah. we've heard you say a lot worse. But guys, that has been an hour and 15 minutes. It's been a great show. Hopefully on Friday we're talking about a split. We want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out with us all morning long. It's been great. The usual suspects have been in here. Seen Jerry popping in with some really good takes. This is going to be interesting 2 games. Hopefully Friday we talk about a split, and we'll see Bobby Tats with us, and we'll have our awards for this Seattle series. So a lot to look forward to as we wrap up this week in Yankees baseball. But as Uncle Tats always says, wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.
Salute, guys. Thanks so much for watching.